Let's talk about smudge sticks a little bit. If you take a look at the crescent shelves that I've got over here, you'll notice that I have quite the abundance of smudge sticks. The collection started off with this, Palo Santo wood. With my subscription to the Crystal Council, this was probably the most prominent smudge stick that I would get in each package. I have another one from the other shelf over here. As you can see, it's a little bit more used. Palo Santo wood has been kinda universal for me. It cleanses my living space, rids it of negative entities, etc. The next is my blue sage over here. It does kind of the same thing, kinda universal. Then we have my bundle of dragon's blood over here. I don't really use it as much because Lucifer kind of thinks it offensive if it's used excessively. And this one's probably my favorite one. It's juniper, and I found it really boosts my motivation and creativity. And if I would have found this out earlier, I would have started using it a lot sooner. Guys, I cannot even right now. So Lucifer's been gone for the past couple of days, kinda leaving me to my own devices. And the time he chooses to check back in with me happens to be the exact same time as when I am watching a Marvel marathon. And just so happened to be watching Thor. The commentary I got from him was fucking hilarious. Basically, it can be summed up with the same attitude most 40-year-old dads have when watching the game on TV. That is bullshit. That is bullshit. Wrong. Wrong. Okay, they really took some creative liberties with this movie, didn't they? Stanley must be rolling over in his grave, I swear. And while he found it entertaining, I did have to explain that this was not an attempt at an accurate depiction. Well, my tarot deck called it again. So for the past couple months, I've been in a casual relationship with a guy that lives in my complex. And the entire time he was unsure on whether or not he wanted to make things official, so I didn't get my hopes up. In the last tarot reading I did for myself, the cards basically said that in terms of this guy, I was setting myself up for disappointment and that there were other people out there. Venus has been encouraging me to get out of my comfort zone anyway, so I re-downloaded Tinder. My account hadn't been reactivated for more than an hour before I got a match. And this dude, I swear, we've pretty much been talking all afternoon. Note, I don't always take my tarot readings for scripture, but when they call me out, they call me out. Okay, so an altar for your deity can be as simple or as complex as you would like. If all you can afford to set up is just a candle on top of a bookshelf, then that's fine. If you want to set up a candle, a statuette of them, a bowl for offerings, so on and so forth, you can do that as well. An altar is literally just a space set aside for you to dedicate towards your deity. And that space can look as simple and complex, as clean or as messy as you would like. In terms of picking things out for the altar, number one piece of advice I've given before is don't overthink it. If you see something that you believe your deity would like, or it just feels right, go for it. Okay, so I know I've answered a question like this before, but here's a little refresher. When we die, our souls go to a place known as the astral plane. The astral plane is neither considered heaven nor hell. It is simply a realm for souls and deities where they coexist. A better term for it would be like the spirit world. When a living creature dies, it can decide to remain in the astral realm, either as a spirit guide or something else, or it can be reincarnated. I believe that the souls of animals are more likely to be reincarnated simply because there's more of them than there are us. And even if there was no afterlife at all, I wouldn't see that as a reason to be afraid. Why? Because once it's over, it's over. What more do you have to fear? And hell in of itself is just a fear tactic.
These are very high-ranking angels who work for Jesus.
You're gonna make me say it. How fucking dare you? Listen, I've never worked with any other archangel aside from Lucifer, but even I know better than to say that any deity or any entity is too busy for any of their devotees. Wesley, how dare you assume that Michael or Gabriel or any other archangel for that matter, or any deity for that matter, doesn't have time for their devotees? Because if you say that, then that analogy can automatically be applied to God because he is not omnipresent as you so believe. I would highly suggest getting Michael and Gabriel's name out of your God-forsaken mouth. Apparently, you don't just need to learn how to respect other people, but deities that exist within your own pantheon as well. As it stands, this is a complex question to answer. I would say yes, because we all have our own stories, either regarding God, heaven, the angels, or just Christianity in general. As the reply said on your comment, pagan is an umbrella term. You can be a pagan and believe in God, but that doesn't mean you necessarily worship him. You could worship archangels, which if you don't know the names of all the archangels, it's okay, but there's an entire list on Google. The term pagan basically refers to someone who worships deities or entities aside from those of Abrahamic religions, so Jesus, Yahweh, or Allah. So, general answer, yes, you can believe in the Christian God, but you don't have to worship him.
Now, he appears as an angel of light. He disguises this way.
Are you admitting that your rebuking video didn't do jack shit? Because he was there for that. He said he could reveal himself to me, but that it would be an awkward situation for both of us. Y'all gonna have to fess up, Wesley. You're gonna have to say that your rebuking video didn't work. That you have nowhere near as much power as you claim to have. That your God doesn't have anywhere near as much power as you claim he has. You say Jesus told you that you had to sacrifice your reputation for this, but you're tearing his own reputation to pieces in doing so. His name, the Bible, and the Christian religion as a whole. You're making a mockery of it. I mean, most of the time it is. In most cases, when a Christian says, "Oh, I'll pray for you," it's because you worship something that they don't, which makes you evil in their book. And it doesn't even give you an option like saying, "Hey, can I pray for you?" At least that's a little bit better than saying, "I'll pray for you," because it's not even giving us an option on whether or not we want to be prayed for. It's actually disrespectful in a lot of ways. Because not only are you saying that, "Oh, I'm not even giving you the option of whether or not you want to be prayed for," but clearly because you don't worship the same religion as me, there's something wrong with you and you're evil and you need to be prayed for. So yeah, it is kind of like being spat in the face. I've been meaning to answer this question for a couple of days, so let's get into it. Understand that the internet is mostly populated by millennials and Gen Z. Gen X and boomers don't take to the internet to show off their witchy abilities. They just do them. While my generation and other members of the younger generation tend to teach others online, the older generation tends to teach people in their family, so children, grandchildren. Just like with a lot of problems in our world, and not saying that witches and witchcraft is a problem, but just like a lot of things in this world, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I have seen some older witches on TikTok, 35-somethings, 40-somethings, 50-somethings, and so on. But witchcraft and paganism is definitely a lot more widely accepted within the younger generation than it is with the older generation.
The entire nation of India is Hindu. And like I said before, it's highly demonic.
I don't even know what to say to you at this point. It wasn't bad enough you were going after the pagans and the witches. Now you're attacking all of Hinduism? I've never once had a Hindu say anything hateful towards me. And the number of Christians who have said hateful things to me number in the dozens, if not hundreds. You know, it legitimately hurts my heart just to listen to that video. Like, honestly, I am at a loss for words. I'm sorry, Christians, it's time. It's time that you say you don't claim this woman. You know, I'm not going to speak on behalf of all pagans out here, but the Hindus who are watching my videos and stuff, you got a safe place on my platform. Sorry, Christian Karen, you gotta go.
And disagree about each other's behavior all day long and value each other as humans.
So why don't you do the same, Wesley? Because clearly you disagree with a lot of people in terms of which religion they worship. Their attitude towards witches, pagans, and now Hindus is clear evidence of that. But the way you go attacking those people shows no respect or value towards those people. Obviously you don't care about them. If you really wanted to show value and respect, you would listen to them, sit down with them, say, "Oh, that's very interesting. Tell me more." And at the end of the day, you can still come together and say, agree to disagree. It's not my religion, but if it's what gives you purpose and keeps up your faith, then hey, that's wonderful. That would be the respectful thing to do. But no, instead you say, oh, it's evil, it's demonic. Practice what you preach, youth pastor.
Miscarriage doesn't always happen to women who do witchcraft, but it is a common effect.
I am in too much physical pain for this bullshit. Wesley, are you currently stuck in the 1600s? Do we need to grab a time machine to pull your ass out? Listen, I have had irregular periods since I started when I was 13. My mother, who is a medical assistant, has confirmed that if I wanted to start a family and have kids, it will be difficult for me to conceive because of my irregular periods. Not to mention there's more than enough scientific research that claims that infertility rates are on the rise. How far are you willing to go with your insensitive remarks? Because you're officially treading into territory that you have no business stepping into. And yes, I did report this video for misleading information. You would be talking to 11-year-old me, and 11-year-old me at the time was terrified. For no other particular reason than I had been a brainwashed Christian into believing that I was talking to the devil. Fast forward around 12.5 years or so to last year when we finally reconnected, I was surprised he was willing to come back. And I was surprised I had strengthened my spiritual energy and my connection to the spirit world so much that I was actually able to see him. That's what was surprising to me. Because all 11-year-old me knew of his appearance was just a shadowy figure. I've told this story to many different Christians who have asked me what he looked like, and all I said is, I can't really tell you. He just looked like a shadowy figure. I've described his appearance before on this channel, but in summary, he has endlessly long blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and porcelain skin that's almost white.
Tell me you're going to hell without telling me you're going to hell. I'll go first.
Well, I personally believe the Christian concept of hell doesn't exist, but I'll play this little game. I'm a witch and a pagan, pretty strong start with that one. I have indeed interrupted a church service before, accidentally, but interrupted nonetheless. My friends and I in community college used to smoke on the front steps of a Catholic church. Plenty of sex before marriage. Back when I used to go to Bible school, I used to only go for the chalky milk and the cookies. And the arts and crafts. I didn't care about the Bible shit. I once referred to the hood on a pastor's robe as a hoodie. I have said in the past that I am willing to get married, but if they breathe one word about God during the ceremony, I'm leaving. And sitting in the church makes me physically nauseous, so that is a pretty clear sign. Sometimes I can't with my fucking deities. You have no idea what I had to go through to get Lucifer this glass of wine, and he's still chuckling at me. If you might not be able to tell, this is not the original cap to the bottle. The cork is in the bottle because my dumbass doesn't have a screw. I broke a knife trying to get it out the first time. Tried driving a long nail into it and it didn't work. Tried putting one of these thingies in the cork and it didn't work. Trying to go with the YouTube tips, I tried this serrated knife. It didn't work because it's too thin and flimsy. And this one almost worked, but it stopped like a quarter of the way, drove the cork back down and into the bottle. And there is a slight mess. Are you pleased with yourself? Lucifer.
Using this effect on my deity's altars to see who's around. Oh. Hi, wrong. I was burning some sage incense, so that's probably why he's so close to the table. Well, I guess it's just me and Rom chilling for the evening.
So recently I've gotten a few questions as to why Lucifer might not like certain deities. Some examples being Hades and most recently Loki. Now note, I do have a theory on this, but I don't know if it can be regarded as actual fact. This is just speculation on my part. My theory is that Lucifer sort of has this strained relationship with just about any deity whose name has been used synonymously with his, or any deity that has been viewed as sort of a devil figure. I have heard Hades' name used synonymously with Lucifer's, and Loki is sort of the devil figure in Norse mythology. However, Venus's name has also been used synonymously with Lucifer's, and they act like total besties around me. I can't quite explain that. But I can't vouch for Hades or Loki because I've never worked with them. Once again, this is just a theory, so if anyone else has more insight on this matter, feel free to leave it in my comments. How did I know it was Rom in that video? Well, for one thing, I intentionally pointed my camera at each of my deities' altars to see who was present and where. I knew Rom was present because, Lucifer and Venus bounced shortly before I started recording. From what I'm gathering, it's kind of like the reality ripple effect. If, a pair of wings appears, that means there's a spirit present. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a deity. It could just be a random spirit. It could be an ancestor. It could be anything. Dead giveaway that pair of wings was Rom was he was directly next to the coffee table as I was burning sage incense, which happens to be one of his favorite fragrances, along with myrrh and frankincense. Also discovered that if it goes from being the angel wings to the black wings with the fire, it could be a negative spirit, or your deity doesn't want to be recorded. Well, then you're going to spend hours in the rabbit hole that is my profile. I do have a series on my YouTube channel called Witchcraft 101 that kind of covers the basics of paganism and witchcraft if that's something you would be interested in. And my religion is my religion. It's not necessarily organized per se. It's constantly evolving and changing as I'm learning new things about my deities and what they tell me and what I learn on my own time, things of that nature. That's the thing that tends to be very off-putting about paganism. We don't go by one strict set of rules. We don't follow one book. There is no church we can go to learn all this stuff. We have to learn on our own or with a coven and on our own time. And this is why our beliefs are so personal to us, because they are from personal experience. This is why we try to tell people that this is not a trend. This is a commitment that's going to take years of your life off. This is actually a very good question because there is a slight difference between the two. Deity work basically refers to how you work with your deities to resolve a particular issue. So, Rom working with me on my witchcraft and divination skills. Asmodeus teaching me how to be more confident in my gender identity and sexual orientation. Venus working with me to be more confident in terms of relationships and step out of my comfort zone. And Lucifer encouraging me to learn more things, expand my craft, and just, in general, experience my own personal truth. All of that are examples of deity work. Now, deity worship is the efforts that I put out in return to honor and pay respects to my deities. So, regularly tending to or cleaning up their altars, giving them offerings, and recognizing the work that they do in our world when I see it. Those are some examples of deity worship. In my own case, working with my deities is like working with a teacher that I have a very close bond with. Ram and I have been working one-on-one the longest, so he has seen me at every high and low point that I've ever been in for the past 7.5 years or so. He and I sort of communicate through a sort of psychic connection because, as I've stated, he's incapable of human speech, so we can't really talk per se. With Lucifer, I give him updates in terms of what new things I have learned and what I am doing differently to better myself. In some cases, there's not really anything new to report, so he just pops in to make sure I'm still alive. Like, oh, you're still here? Okay, good. Venus is somewhere between that one wine mom and that one best friend to encourage you to do things that you're uncomfortable doing. I talk to her if my exes are pulling some shit, and she tries to get me to advance my skills in the dating scene.